Jason Heale from the Maxim Institute. Jason, kia ora, good morning. Thanks for your time.
Morning, Andrew. Thanks for having me. Always good to be here.
This is the weirdest topic I've ever heard from Maxim, and gosh, that's a tough competition. This, over the years, when I saw the headline, I thought, surely he's not doing this. Look, we'll get into it, and look, no spoilers, but, I think you make a very good argument for this, but I can imagine a few people pushing back. What you're proposing to solve our country's problems is to bring back the draft. This is, well, I'm not sure this will be popular with some.
Well, you say it like when you say it like that, the draft. It gives it an ominous,
compulsory military training. This is what we're talking about here, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I guess the question that I asked, why should we do this?
Yeah.
And I just took a look around at the world, and I thought, the world's volatile. It's getting more dangerous.
Isn't that the reason not to join the army? I mean, ask them in Moscow, ask them in Leningrad. There's lots of good reasons not to join the army if the world is volatile, right?
That's right. But I think you could make that case. But I think the point is that it's better to be prepared. I think about it like a homeowner who insures their house against some fire or something, even though it's unlikely to happen. We're at the bottom of the world. That's been our main defense strategy since we've existed as a nation.
Kind of worked out well. Kind of worked for COVID, but
it did.
Yeah, exactly.
Fortress New Zealand, which would be great if we were able to also rely on ourselves to defend ourselves too. But I think the world is smaller now. I think there's other ways that nations can invade, attack, disable countries with the Internet of Things and digital cyber warfare. I don't think that military service necessarily means frontline combat as well. I think that's the thing that we all go to is, we're all going to go in the trenches, we're going to go overseas, we're all going to get involved in another war for some other nation that we don't even really know about.
That's our history, really. Oh, gosh, the last time we had the draft, we were sending our young men overseas to have them shot by other young men. That was
in World War II, Korea, Vietnam. So it's I understand that that hesitancy to bring it back, and I think you would have to be very careful about how you would use the people that you train. Like I'm not in favor of extending our influence militarily overseas. I think it's a defensive option. I just think the world is more dangerous. I recall reading the Polish Prime Minister saying that they're in pre-World War II conditions in Europe. Europe's in pre-war conditions, and they're at the kind of the tipping point. And I thought, this is not a good place to be.
Now, I mean,
caught off guard.
The good thing about this, for a couple of middle-aged men, or at least past their prime, honestly, Jason, if we volunteered, they'd throw us back. So we're at no risk whatsoever of being drawn into the armed forces of New Zealand. They wouldn't want us. They wouldn't be interested. But giving you an opportunity, I suppose, to make your case for the positive difference that having young people as a part of their rite of passage. I mean, they do this in South Korea, for example. They do this in Israel, but again, probably that's a very bad example at the moment. But why would this not only help the young people that learn some skills, but also help us as a country? What's your pitch on this one, Jason?
Yeah, well, I think that an example or a country that I looked to as an example was Norway.
Okay.
And they actually have compulsory military service, but only for a select number of people out of each generation or each year. So they don't conscript every young person that turns 18. What happens is the young people actually have to apply.
Wow.
And they only take the best of the best to serve in their military.
They're having tryouts. I mean,
basically they are. And I think it was 17% of that generation actually only got accepted into the armed forces.
Wow.
So it's harder for people to get into the military than it is for them to get into a top university in Norway. And so it's seen as something to aspire to, something to put on your CV. They don't see it as like a waste of 18 months. It's a time for them to train. And like you say, a rite of passage. We don't have in the West many rites of passage here from teenage years to adulthood, and something like this would provide a national rite of passage, a national story, a cohesive, unifying experience to be around. It would help people from all socioeconomic backgrounds to mix and to understand and to kind of experience what it's like to live together in that way.
Jason, is this, and look, stop me if I'm wrong, but is this like a middle-class version of the Nationals boot camp policy? Is this like saying, well, we've got a generation that have lost their way. What they need is some good military training. It was good for me. That'll sort them out. What is it with young people today? Is that what you're advocating for, Jason?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
I think the model from Norway shows that people from all walks of life apply, and it's not just the what you might say the quote unquote elites that go and serve, but it's everyone. They don't make a distinction. Anyone can apply. They psychometrically test everyone. Then they test them for fitness and ability and all those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And they it's like an application. It's like a full-on application. So it helps people discover a bit about themselves. It helps them learn new skills that they wouldn't, skills that apply across life as well. Leadership, teamwork, cooperation, those sorts of skills, as well as, I mean, the military is not just about fighting, it's also engineers, medics, administration, all those sorts of things that need to be there.
It's not just about see the world, meet interesting people and shoot them, as it was in the bad old days. Although, if the Prime Minister of Poland is right, it may not be so much of an intellectual exercise in Norway for that much longer if things go off. Now, I mean, I suppose what you're talking about here is let's prepare in the peacetime so that we don't have to have a war. I mean, that's the philosophy, I suppose, that you're advocating?
Yeah, that's right. I think one of my colleagues put it best when she said that we want to be like hedgehog diplomacy, right? We want to be cute and not super dangerous, but you wouldn't want to put us in your mouth and bite us, right? No. Because we'll definitely sting you.
Exactly.
So I think that's kind of what
we're
going for.
We've probably got ringworm as well.
That's right.
So put that hedgehog down. Loving the metaphor. It's got some strength and some prickles.
Yeah.
Hey, wanting to talk briefly about the difference that this would make for our military, because I mean, recently I was talking with a colleague of yours about how our deployment to the Middle East involved 6 people, and those were the only ones that we could spare. I mean, the state of the military in New Zealand, it's a bit of a joke, really. Is this what's behind all of this? Gosh, if we had a good recruitment drive, if we had them fighting over positions in the New Zealand Army, if this was aspirational within our culture, then that would solve problems for the military, but it might put up the government bill for paying people. I think they're almost out of money for that one. But is that your thoughts behind this?
Well, I think that you're right in that the army, the armed forces in total is losing people. I think the attrition rate is 10% averaged out over the last 10 years. I think it bumped up to 15.5 after COVID, 15.5%, but it's gone down from almost 14,000 total to just under 12,000 in the last 10 years. So it is the numbers trending down. To be fair, in Norway, a lot of young people who didn't think the military would be a career option for them after doing their service continued on as professional soldiers.
Okay.
So that might help as well. But it's not just that we want people in the army. I think people that do military service and then leave are a benefit to society as well. They are able to innovate more. They're able to, move into positions of leadership. I think as well that the domestic economic benefits shouldn't be kind of swept away.
Yeah.
The military requires food, requires equipment, requires tools and things like that. And if we can acquire those locally, domestically, then that's putting money back into the local economy. I think there was one study in the US who found that I think it was every dollar that is invested in youth, so they were looking particularly at youth military training,
yep.
you get back about the equivalent of just over $3 to the local community in all sorts of different ways.
Now, it's not in this year's budget, so we'll have to wait at least 12 months for you to pitch this idea for next time. Honestly, Jason, I probably should have opened this question. But are you a military man? Were you like a weekend warrior? Did you have you got any military background personally, apart from watching old war movies?
No, I don't. But I think the more I think about it, the more I wish I did. Actually,
yeah, I think it is too late for both of us. And honestly, Jason, nothing personal, but I think that the world is a better place because neither of us are in the military.
I think so.
I think so. I do mean that as a compliment, honestly. But hey, an interesting idea. Thank you for the robust conversation that followed. Thanks for being on the program today. Now, this article will be posted, I understand, on the Maxim Institute website later this week. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, if people want to, disagree with me, they can do that all day long.
It is an excellent conversation starter, particularly with people you don't like. Do check it out, maxim.org.nz. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, mate.